Baseball has been played for over 150 years. Thousands of pitchers have stepped on the rubber, but only a select few have ever thrown a pitch faster than 104 miles per hour. In order of when they occurred, let's take a look at the only 7 pitchers to ever reach 104, starting with the creator of the club, a man who didn't need weightlifting programs or pitching coaches like the pansies of today to get to triple digits, because he instead opted for a training plan of chopping wood and vigorously milking cows on his farm to get there. See, before farmer boy Bob Feller and power hitting hunk Babe Ruth, baseball was a completely different sport. The dead ball era was filled with slap hitting, lame bunting, and slow pitch losers that had a better chance killing their fans of boredom than getting laid. Then came a timid farmer from Iowa who had a leg kick so high and a pitch so fast that you'd only have a chance hitting it if you got lucky enough to even see it. In 1936, the Cleveland Indians signed Bob Feller at just 17 years old, and the young buck quickly gained the nickname Rapid Robert and Bullet Bob for his lightning quick fastball. In fact, after being blown away by a Bob Feller third strike, Yankees great Lefty Gomez was famously quoted saying, "Holy fuck, who put all this shit in my pants?" After 6 seasons, Bob was already a legend, having ranked top 3 in MVP voting 3 times already, and throwing the only no-hitter in opening day history in 1940. But with a fastball primarily in the high 90s, Popeye needed some extra spinach to get his fastball up into the mythological triple digits. Bobby Boy went to fight in World War II during the 1942, 43, and 44 seasons, and after getting celebrated as a war hero, he returned for the 1945 season with his grenade-throwing arm pulsing with power. According to legend, in 1946, Bob threw a baseball measured against the speed of a motorcycle that allegedly went 107.6 miles per hour. Whether this number is legit or just a terrible napkin calculation by a drunk biker, the world may never know. But something that is unquestionable is that no pitcher came even close to throwing as hard as Bob did until 20 years later when another flamethrower sought after the fastest pitcher thrown.
1-0. Wow, is he throwing hard?
Nolan Ryan was signed by the Mets in 1966 for what would quickly become one of the most legendary pitching careers of all time. Throwing 104 miles per hour is hard enough, and trying to do it at 6'2" and only 170 pounds seems almost impossible. But everyone must have been too afraid to tell Nolan out of fear of getting their teeth knocked in that they just let him try anyway. Nolan was scarier on the rubber than an ex-wife, and more relentless than one too. He once got hit in the head with a ground ball, started spewing blood everywhere, probably hawked to it a couple of teeth on the floor, and then stayed in the game and pitched 7 more innings. Fans adored him, and hitters were deathly afraid of him. One batter was so annoyed with getting rung up that he got a table leg from the locker room and headed off to home plate to take his swings against Ryan. When he was informed by the umpire Ron Luciano that he couldn't use it, he replied, "Why not? I won't hit him anyway." Ryan was so good that in 27 seasons, he threw 7 no-hitters, the most strikeouts in MLB history at 5,714, and pitched until he was 46 years old. With so much fire in his spirit, it is no surprise that he was a worthy challenger for Bullet Bob Feller as the flame-throwing gold medalist, which is why in 1974, he recorded a pitch at 100.9 miles per hour. Since the measurement was taken 10 feet in front of home plate, the number crunchers calculated that the pitch was actually thrown at 108 miles per hour. And while it is not an official record, it was fast enough to take the next pitcher over 30 years to join the 104 mile per hour club.
Off. First pitch, 104.
Joel Zumaya didn't just throw heat, he looked like he was trying to punch a hole in reality every time he let go of the ball. Born and raised in Southern California, Zumaya was drafted by the Detroit Tigers in 2002, and from the minute he stepped on a mound, you knew he was built different. He had the energy of a guy who drank Red Bull for hydration and treated pitching like a full contact sport. His delivery was pure chaos, violent, explosive, like he was trying to start a small earthquake with every pitch. And off the field, the man was such a walking adrenaline spike that he literally missed the ALCS because of a Guitar Hero injury. Zumaya made his MLB debut in 2006 as a 21-year-old and instantly turned Comerica Park into a rock concert every time he took the mound. Fans were on their feet and hitters were just hoping to survive. The guy had a fastball that routinely touched 100, and then one day that year, he casually threw a pitch that was clocked at 104.8 miles per hour. At the time, that was the fastest pitch ever recorded by the MLB's new radar system, and it was so fast that people actually thought the machine was broken. Spoiler alert, it was not. However, with more torque in his arm than a brand new Ducati, Joe was like watching a race car run without brakes, so something had to give.
When Joel Zumaya buckled after throwing a pitch. He was in obvious pain, was attended to immediately.
Over the next few seasons, Zumaya's body began to rebel against the ungodly strain he was putting on it. Elbows, shoulders, wrists, you name it, it started popping like bubble wrap. And unfortunately, his career, which started like a supernova, slowly fizzled under the weight of repeated injuries. By the time he was 27, he was out of baseball entirely. But for that one glorious stretch in 2006, he was the first player to join the 104-mile-per-hour club in 3 decades. A feat that miraculously took the next player only 4 years to replicate. Aroldis Chapman didn't just escape Cuba so much as blast his way out of it. Born with a bazooka attached to his left shoulder, Chapman was originally a first baseman until someone realized he was throwing harder than most cars speed on the highway and got switched to a pitcher. Once he made the switch to pitching, it was only a matter of time before the world took notice. And after defecting from Cuba in 2009, he signed with the Cincinnati Reds for a cool $30 million, which was less a signing bonus and more of a security deposit on the damage he was about to do on Major League Baseball. Chapman made his debut in 2010, and in his very first season, he threw a pitch that made physics professors weep with a StatCast-defying 105.8-mile-per-hour missile. The pitch was, and still is, the fastest StatCast pitch ever recorded. In fact, the pitch was so fast that when it hit the catcher's mitt, you didn't hear a pop. Instead, you heard a sonic slap from God himself. And Chapman even received a Guinness record for it. The thing is, though, the pitch wasn't just a one-hit wonder fluke. Chapman didn't just touch 105, he lived there. The man rented space in the 103 to 105 range like it was a summer condo in Miami. And over his career, Chapman has thrown 9 of the 12 fastest pitches ever recorded in the StatCast era. Over the years, Chapman has racked up over 1,100 strikeouts, a World Series ring, and enough radar gun abuse to make StatCast charge him for therapy. Even as he's gotten older and his velocity has decreased, the man can still hit triple digits when he needs to. And when you can casually throw harder than a jet engine, that's not just pitching, that's supervillain origin story material. Chapman ruled the radar gun like a dictator, but even dictators get overthrown. And the next pitcher that's joined the 104-mile-per-hour club might just be the one to steal Chapman's throne.
Here it is from Hicks. He got him 3 days in a row. Jordan Hicks seals the deal for the Cardinals.
Jordan Hicks didn't just sneak into the league, he crashed the party. Drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in the 3rd round of the 2015 draft, Hicks wasn't even on most people's radar when he got the call to the big leagues in 2018. The guy had never pitched above A-ball, so the plan was to ease him in slowly, but Jordan had other ideas. From the moment he took the mound, Hicks made it clear that he wasn't interested in pitching like a normal human being. He was a 6'2", fire-breathing dragon from Houston, who didn't just touch 100, he hovered there like it was his cruise control. Then, on one fateful day in May of 2018, he fired not 1, but 2 pitches that hit 105.1 miles per hour. And since Chapman's fastest pitch was an inside ball wilder than a sorority girl on spring break, Hicks's pitch went down as the fastest strike in MLB StatCast history. Hicks had another difference to Chapman too. He looked like he was barely trying. No violent windup, no maximum effort screams, just smooth, clean, effortless chaos. The kind that makes batters swing out of self-defense and catchers wonder if their insurance covers such workplace violence. However, throwing that hard came at a large cost. And in 2019, Hicks's elbow finally said, nah bro. He needed Tommy John surgery and missed all of 2020 and most of 2021. Still, he came back swinging, and while his velocity has dipped slightly, he still sits in the triple digits like he never left. But while Hicks was busy defying biomechanics and duct taping his elbow back together, a new flamethrower was quietly being brewed in a Tennessee lab.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. It was 105.5 miles an hour.
If you were trying to build a pitcher in a lab, you'd probably end up with something that looks suspiciously like Ben Joyce. 6'5", 225 pounds, with a mustache that screams, I don't bench press metal plates, but instead wooden logs. Joyce didn't just show up to baseball, he kicked the door down and changed Rob Manfred's thermostat on the way in. His legend started in college, when he suited up for the University of Tennessee and promptly promptly turned SEC hitters into crash test dummies. Then, in 2022, he went viral, not because of a strikeout or a big moment, but because he casually chucked a pitch at 105.5 miles per hour. The Angels snatched him up in the 3rd round of the 2022 draft, but Joyce didn't need MLB seasoning because he came pre-marinated in pure gasoline. By 2023, he was already making his MLB debut, and by 2024, he fired that same 105.5 mile per hour missile in a game, then stared into the camera as if to say, "Who's your daddy now?" And the scariest part, Joyce thinks he can top the jaw-drawing 105.5 mile per hour moment. Ben is just getting started. Still in his early 20s with a fresh arm, a terrifying slider, and a fastball that should come with a warning label, Ben Joyce might be the final evolution of the power pitcher if he can stay healthy. I mean, he's not trying to pitch around you, he's trying to pitch through you. And for the last and most recent addition to the 104 Club, the exact same thing can be said. Before he was breaking radar guns and frying catcher's mitts, Jhoan Duran was just a lanky teenager from the Dominican Republic with a whip for an arm and a dream bigger than his hometown of Esperanza. He signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2014 at just 16 years old. And if you blinked, you probably missed it, because just 4 years later, he got flipped in a trade to the Minnesota Twins like a Pokemon card someone didn't realize was secretly a holographic Charizard. When he finally made his MLB debut in 2022, he didn't just arrive, he exploded onto the scene. This dude wasn't just throwing a fastball, he was launching a guided missile. And his secondary weapon, the Splinker, wasn't any easier to hit. The Splinker is a hellish Frankenstein hybrid of a splitter and a sinker that drops off the table at 100 miles per hour like it's ashamed of itself. And with such a deadly 2-pitch mix, it didn't take long for him to get a badass closer entrance described as the WWE event for baseball. When Jhoan was on the mound, Twins fans started treating the radar gun readings like lotto numbers, which is why on one fateful day in 2023, Jhoan reared back and unleashed pure fire at 104.8 miles per hour. After that, pitching coaches probably gave up and just started praying to God or Cy Young or whatever. Yet despite the triple-digit heat, Duran's calm demeanor while throwing it made him look more like he was ordering a vanilla frappuccino at Starbucks than throwing a 104 mile per hour pitch. But all of this begs the necessary question: who do you think will be the next player to join the 104 mile per hour club? Most of the pitchers already in it have been closers, but Bullet Bob and Nasty Nolan unofficially proved that it was possible to do so as a starter. Maybe flamethrower Paul Skeens will be the next pitcher to gain the accolade, and if so, you'll probably want to know all about the journey it took him to get there. So watch this video right here to get all the details.